Hey everyone,
I'm Tim, and I've just finished a 9-month odyssey around Latin America. Now I'm reopening my diaries, and this time I'm bringing you along with me. Week by week, country by country, all the colors, all the craziness, all the food, all the music, and all the splendor. 9 months when each morning was a new adventure. The road was my companion, and Latin America cast its spell on me. This is my Latin America Diaries. Welcome back to Latin America Diaries. The next stop after Pasto was to the small but historic town of Popayán. Popayán is, or was, a very important colonial town and is often considered the second most significant colonial city in Colombia, after the old city of Cartagena. It was once an important waypoint on the road from Cartagena, colonial Spain's gateway to South America, through to Quito in modern-day Ecuador. Like other parts of southwestern Colombia, it is set amid a mountainous region and is filled with beautiful old whitewashed buildings. When I was there, I met up with and stayed with an ex-student of mine who has become a friend, Victor. He and his family kindly hosted me during my 2-night stay. Victor did admit that Popayán might not offer a lot in the way of things to see and do. However, I had heard about it for years. I have had many students from Popayán over the years, including one very good friend of mine, Fabian. I met him about 11 years ago, and he originally hails from the town. So as it was on my way, I knew that I'd needed to stop in and see it. During my stay, we spent the day wandering through local markets, exploring the town, and climbing up a nearby hill that offered a beautiful view over the city. From this vantage point, Popayán almost looked like a Spanish town, with its charming whitewashed buildings and the domes of the cathedral rising above the skyline. The next morning, I set off for Cali, Colombia's third largest city and the current home of my friend Fabian. It felt like the logical next step in my travel through this part of southwestern Colombia, having already seen the festivals in Pasto and then moving on to the historic charm of Popayán and then moving onwards to the vibrant city energy of Cali. Stay tuned if you want to see that, but in the meantime, I'd like to ask you to please like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to make sure that you are notified whenever I upload new videos from this series. Also, if you like what you're seeing, please make sure that you share this video and tell your friends and family about it. It would really mean a lot to me. I arrived in Cali mid-afternoon and headed straight for Fabian's place, where I was welcomed by his simply delightful family. His mum, his dad, his brother, and his grandmother, who is a force of nature. She has this vibrant personality that lights up the whole house, and it was clear from the outset that she is very much the beloved star of this family. The next day we woke up and headed out to do something that I had really been looking forward to, and that was a game of Tejo. Tejo is technically Colombia's national sport, but it is not a sport in the sense that you might be imagining. We are here in Cali with my friends Fabian, William, and their father, and we are playing the national sport of Colombia, Tejo. Let me explain how this works. Instead of stadiums and uniforms, Tejo is usually played in a casual warehouse-style sports hall, often with generous servings of beer. The game itself? Well, you throw these heavy metallic pucks towards a tray of clay, where tiny envelopes of gunpowder are positioned around the center. If your puck hits one of them just right, boom, it explodes and you score points. Yes, this is literally a sport based around explosives. No wonder my Colombian friends and students had always told me that it was the most fun sport ever. Having read about Tejo in an English language textbook many years ago and been fascinated by it ever since, I knew that I wouldn't be able to leave Colombia without getting at least one game in. So off we went. Fabian and his brother had not played Tejo before, but luckily his father knew a place where it was played and drinks were served. And we spent the afternoon throwing metal pucks and cheering every time someone managed to make one of the targets
Fabian, your
explode.
turn. Congratulations!
And look, I know it sounds simple, throw the puck and hit the paper and make it explode, but it's actually a lot harder than it looks.
I am so happy with myself right now.
Obviously, while you're playing it, these get really dirty because they keep hitting the mud. down there, or the clay. So you have a rag here to clean it off. Like so. But even so, like, your hands get all dusty and everything. But I mean, that's part of it, yeah? After that, we headed to another part of the sports hall to play another quintessentially Colombian bar game, and that is the frog game, which basically you throw these hoops, I guess, and or metallic rings, and you have to throw them towards this thing that looks like a bit like a pinball machine, but instead it has holes in it. And where you land the ring in each hole gives you a different calculation of points. It was Fabian and his brother's first time playing Tejo and going to a sports hall like that, and they had lined it up especially for me, so I am forever thankful for to you guys for making that happen. So thank you so much. We had so much fun. In fact, you could even say we had a blast. The next morning we woke up and found that Fabian's lovely father had brought back a surprise for us. Cali is the nearest major city to Colombia's Pacific coast, which means that it is on a trading route for spices and produce that you will not find in other parts of the country. So this is the palm peach, which comes from the peach palm, and it's called, in Spanish it's called?
Chontaduro.
Chontaduro. And Fabian, you're telling me that it's an acquired taste.
Okay.
Like it's it's not everyone loves it. Okay.
People or loves or hate.
Okay. Okay, this could be interesting.
So normally you can eat with salt,
Okay.
but for me
You
it's
also
better if you add some honey.
honey. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the honey and the salt helps,
Yes.
but it's not bad, actually.
Okay.
Pregunte los beneficios del chontaduro.
See?
Hey,
¿Cuáles son los beneficios de chontaduro?
¿Cuáles son los beneficios del chontaduro?
es energético.
¿Sí?
Energético.
Energético.
Da mucha energía.
Afrodisíaco.
Oh, okay.
Afrodisíaco.
Entiendo. Okay, well, I'm going to be finishing my chontaduro and I will be seeing you later. Spending time with Fabian's family and catching up with Fabian was such a wonderful experience. We even celebrated my birthday together one last time in Colombia. I'm eternally grateful to your family, Fabian, for the kindness and the generosity that you all showed me, and I'm eternally grateful to you too for your friendship over all of these years. It's so wonderful that we've kept in contact. And besides, who else am I going to try hormigas culonas with? Hormigas culonas are the cooked ant snack that I was given in Santander by Jimmy's family when I stayed with them for Christmas. And I finally got to taste them with Fabian in Cali. And what happened is all on video, and it's in a separate video which is coming up straight after this, so stay tuned. And if anyone's wondering about salsa, yes, Cali is the Colombian capital of the dance salsa, not the sauce. And salsa is a type of dance which has several centers, one of them being Cuba, but another one is the city of Cali in Colombia. And Cali is home to many salsa clubs and dance nights and so on. However, I was having such a good time with Fabian's family and just going around and seeing the city and playing Tejo that we didn't get a chance to really experience that side of the city, so that might need to wait for next time. The next day we headed out to the center of Cali, to El Obelisco, which is a hotel that serves fresh juice and concoctions that are very typical of Cali's food culture, such as cholada and champús and the famous lulada, a refreshing concoction made from lulo fruit, lime, sugar and ice. It's tangy, sweet and just perfect for Cali's warm climate. We sat there for a while just soaking up the air and the atmosphere, and then we headed across the road to take a walk along the Cali River, where there is a unique and interesting exhibition of cat sculpture. They're part of a public art project that began as a competition for the best cat sculpture, and it grows each year as they add a new sculpture. It's a really fun, quirky exhibition, and strolling along that riverside felt like wandering through an open-air gallery. After that, we headed over to the nearby suburb of San Antonio, which is a lively bohemian-style hillside area with colorful houses and alleyways. We stopped at a little experimental ice cream vendor on a corner for a sweet treat, and then walked up to the cathedral to get a view over Cali. As night fell, we continued even further up the hillside to the statue of Sebastián de Belalcázar. From up there, the view of Cali at night, with city lights spread below and the mountains looming behind, was simply beautiful. I knew that I couldn't move on without trying a few tasty treats, and one of those was pan de bono, which is the cheesy Colombian bread that feels like comfort food in pastry form, and avena, an oat-based porridge drink. And then it was time for goodbyes. Fabian's father and with some of the rest of the family drove me out to Cali's airport, which is in fact not actually in the city of Cali, but in a neighboring city called Palmira. And it was from there that I finally bade farewell to Fabian and his lovely family. And it was all heart right up to the end. I had one last nevado from Juan Valdez, the iconic Colombian coffee chain in Cali Airport, before boarding my flight towards Bogota, flying past the conical Tolima volcano on the way. I had a layover of a couple of hours in Bogota Airport, so I caught up with a friend of mine, Juan, who lives in Bogota, not far from the airport actually. We grabbed a lovely Italian meal together, and it was a wonderful end to such a lovely journey through this beautiful country. Also, Bogota Airport, like many places in Colombia, has toilets for pets if they are walking or traveling with you. I thought it was just so cute, and I think that they should be in more places around the world. And then finally, it was time to board my flight and say goodbye to Colombia. Until next time. Before I left Colombia, I made an Instagram reel about the prevailing stereotypes of the country and the reality of my time there. It went semi-viral on Instagram. Here it is.
Over the past 6 weeks, I have been traveling all over Colombia, from the far north to the far south, from the tops of skyscraping mountains right down to tropical beaches on the Caribbean. I've spent time with some amazing friends, met a whole bunch more, tasted some mouth-watering food, admired some spectacular scenery, and witnessed some of the most incredible festivals. But there's one thing missing. What about Pablo Escobar and drugs? I didn't want to talk about this, but I've had a couple of people in my DMs asking me about this, so I think it's worth dealing with. Honestly, the only drug that has featured regularly in my travels in Colombia so far is Colombia's incredible coffee, and for that, Colombia deserves her flowers. I want you to think of the worst crime that has happened in your country. Maybe a mass murder, a shooting spree, child sex offenders, human trafficking, slavery, terrorism, something horrible like that. For every Colombian person I met, that's pretty much what Pablo Escobar and the cocaine trade represents for their country. I can't speak for every Colombian person, but that's true for every Colombian person that I've spoken with in the past 6 weeks, without exception. The cocaine business in Colombia is only possible with extreme violence against ordinary citizens. I've personally met people here who have been threatened, blackmailed, and even shot because somebody needed their money, their business, or their compliance. Even the national airline Avianca provides a leaflet in every seat on how to identify someone if they are being trafficked. Human trafficking is an industry which is very closely tied with the drug trade, and that's what narco trafficking means to the average Colombian. Aside from the horror, a lot of Colombians seem almost a bit bemused at Hollywood and many outsiders' glorification of Pablo Escobar and the narco trafficking scene. Like, would you want that in your country? Because we don't. There's a reason why I waited until the end of my time in Colombia to make this video, and that's because I wanted everyone to see what Colombia is really like before I talked about this. It's my hope that this video is simply an answer to some questions that some of you might have had, and what sticks in your mind of my trip in Colombia, like me, is the beaches, the mountains, the coffee, the sunsets, the cities, the dancing, the festivals, and the people of Colombia. Viva Colombia.
Now it is time to wrap up my episodes from Colombia with a rapid fire round. To begin with, favorite city? Bogota for the experiences that I had there and the people that I met, or Cartagena, it's Cartagena. Favorite region? Eje Cafetero. That area is just magical. It is pure Colombia. Favorite food? Okay, so here's the thing. Colombia didn't stand out to me as a huge food destination. However, I would say that what Colombia does really well is any combination of bread and cheese. So whether that is pan de bono, buñuelos, arepas de queso, anything like that in Colombia is going to taste good. I don't know if I could live on a diet of it, but it certainly was a standout for me. Absolutely delicious. And the other thing that Colombia does really well is hot drinks. So whether it's hot chocolate, whether it's the various types of coffee that are grown there, or even like the blackberry and aguardiente, or aguardiente and cinnamon hot drinks that I had in Pasto and in Bogota respectively. Colombia does that kind of thing really well. Best experience. This is a tough one because I had so many of them while I was in Colombia. In fact, Colombia really was about the experiences for me. Candles night in Quimbaya with Danilo's family, Christmas in Bucaramanga with Vitelma and Ulises, New Year on the Caribbean in Cartagena, the Carnaval de Negros y Blancos in Pasto with Santiago and Monica. But then there are so many more. I think about Janet and her family in Boyaca. I think about Julie and Javi and Carlos and Juliana and Mafe and everyone in Bogota.
Juan and his family in Zipaquira.
Fabian and his family in Cali. And that's probably my biggest takeaway from Colombia. And that's, that if I left Mexico with amazement in my eyes, with the cenotes and the beaches and the Mayan ruins, I left Colombia with my heart full of love. There's something about Colombia. The word enchanting keeps coming up, and it is. It's the people, the connections that I made, and that feeling. In my Colombian videos, if you watch back, I keep doing this or blowing kisses, and that's the effect that Colombia had on me. I love you all so very much, and I hope that I can come back and see you all again very soon. I boarded my flight out of El Dorado International Airport and flew out over the Amazon to the city of Manaus in Brazil. There, I would board a boat and be sleeping in a hammock for 5 days as I sailed down the Amazon, and you will not want to miss that. So make sure that you tune in again next time, because that is next week in Latin America Diaries.